Good afternoon, everybody. So I actually was preaching a different message, and I got about 5 minutes into it, and I'll just be honest, I didn't really feel like God was giving me a lot of liberty, and I'm going to save that for another time. What I'd like to talk about for a few minutes is, 'tis so sweet to trust in Jesus. And I don't know how much differently it'll be from my last message, but I just took a few moments, I just kind of took a few moments of silence, and I asked God what would He like me to talk about this afternoon, and I felt like He just told me to talk about that. I got to thinking about trusting in Jesus. I got to thinking about how that, as I sit here in this aircraft, my trust, as far as safety, obviously is in God, but as far as this equipment goes, my trust is in this wing that is above me. When you look at this, it probably looks like a parachute to you. It has a lot of similarities, but it's called a glider or a wing is what it's more commonly referred to in paramotoring. I got to thinking about how that right now, if you think about it, my safety is fully in this right here. Now these carabiners are very safe, and they're rated for a lot more than I weigh. But ultimately, my trust right now, my safety is in this. Now you look at this thing when it's on the ground, and it doesn't really look like it would be able to accomplish this, but it does. It does it very efficiently. If my motor went out right now, or if I let go of all my power, like that right there, I have quite a bit of glide distance, and I could pick any one of these fields out that are large enough, and I could land there. And so that was a question that a lot of people had was, what happens if your engine goes out? And it really, as long as you're flying safely and flying over a landable area, it's nothing more than an inconvenience. But I was thinking about how that my trust right now is in this. But I got to thinking about too, right here on my side, I have what's called a reserve. And if something happens and there's a catastrophic failure mid-flight, I can pull this and throw it out, and there's a good chance that that's going to save me. A lot of people never have to use that, but it's good just to have. But I got to thinking about, what are we putting our trust in? See, right now, my trust is not in this reserve. My trust is in this wing that is over my head. Mind you, this wing that I can't really see. Now, of course, if I look up, I can see it. But if I'm looking out and if I'm flying, there's no need really for me to be looking up necessarily all the time. And I definitely don't have to look up for it to keep me flying. So what I see from that is that something is supporting me that I don't necessarily see. My trust is in something that I don't necessarily see. And I got thinking about how that relates to us spiritually as Christians. Sometimes we can't see God moving in our life. We don't live in the Bible days, so we don't ever see God walking physically among us, but sometimes we do get to see Him work and manifest Himself to us and in our lives. But we don't always get that luxury. But I got to thinking about how that even when we cannot see, God is still there and God is still taking care of us. And we can still put our trust and put our faith in Him. Again, this has a lot of similarities to what I preached the other day, but I believe it's what God would have for us, and I don't want to argue with it, but are you putting your trust in Jesus this afternoon? See, there's a lot of people putting their trust in a lot of different things. There's a lot of people that's putting their trust in alcohol. There's a lot of people that go home every day after they get off work. Good people. I'm not talking about bad people. I'm talking about good people. But to soothe their emotions and to calm them down and to maybe give them a good time, they go home and they crack open a ice cold beer Or maybe they roll that sleeve up and they shoot up some drugs, or maybe they start scrolling through the internet and looking at stuff that they shouldn't be looking at. And all different people are putting their trust in all different kinds of things. There's a lot of people that's got their trust in their bank account. That's what helps them sleep at night, when they see how much money they've got in the bank, or how much money they've got invested. But you know, the Bible's very clear that where your treasure is, there's your heart also. And it also is very clear that we need to put our treasure, we need to invest our treasure where moth and rust doesn't corrupt. And what the Bible's talking about when it says that is that we need to invest in heavenly treasures. We need to invest in heavenly things. We need to put our trust in God. We need to invest in God instead of focusing so much about the things of this world. Now, sure, it's good to have some money in the bank, and sure, it's good to have friends and to have different things like that. But ultimately, my trust is not in those things. My trust is in Jesus. But I got to thinking about, too, like I was already talking about with this reserve. See, some people want to use this as Jesus right here. See, some people, they think they've got it all going on, and they've got their trust in something. And sure, maybe they go to church on Sundays. Maybe they even go to church midweek. But their trust really isn't in Jesus when the rubber meets the road. And see, I believe there's a lot of Christians that their trust is in the wrong things this afternoon. And it might not necessarily be sinful things. See, I was mentioning some sinful things. Alcohol, pornography, drugs, immoral things. But it's not always those things that people have their trust in. Like I was saying, it could be money. It could be you have your trust in an individual. See, people, no matter who it is, people will let you down. But my trust isn't in an individual this afternoon. My trust is in Jesus. But see, a lot of people want to have their trust in something else, and then they want to have Jesus on the side. He's there if they get in trouble, and if that doesn't work out, He's there and they can pull that and hope for the best. But I'll tell you, it's a lot better living, and it's just a whole lot better time and quality of life if you'll do some reorganizing and let Jesus on top. Put Jesus on top. And see what happens by me having that up there. Oh, I'm supported by it. See, somebody asked me the other day, is this heavy? See, on the ground, this motor is heavy, and this motor is a weight, and you know, it's a little bit cumbersome to get off the ground. But once you're off the ground, and once your weight is now being carried by that thing that's now above you, and right now I'm just sitting in a seat. I'm very comfortable. I've got no weight on my shoulders. I'm just sitting back, relaxing, enjoying this afternoon. And I got to thinking about how good it is to rest and to incline in Jesus. You know, he says to cast your burdens upon Him. He says His yoke is easy, His burdens are light. But so many people are trying to do it the wrong way. They're making it way too hard on themselves. But if they'll just put their trust in Jesus, they'll be able to recline back and relax some. I feel safe right now. But you know why I feel safe right now? And I don't have a whole lot of experience in this. You know, I'm still learning a lot. But I have learned to trust this wing. When I first got up in the air, I was a nervous wreck. I thought this thing was just going to float over on me and I was going to come tumbling out of the sky, but it doesn't work that way. And what I've seen is over time, I have learned to trust in this because it has not let me down. It has not quit doing what it said it was going to do. It's the same way with God. He has never quit doing what He said He was going to do for me. And over the process of time and over the process of me hitting some bumps, see, I've still hit some bumps midair, you know, and it kind of will make you a little bit uneasy. But I've learned that this can take that and this can absorb that. And over the process of time and over me going through some bumps, I have developed a confidence that can only be gained through experience. See, sometimes God lets life get a little bit bumpy because He wants to show us that He'll support us, that He'll take care of us, that He's faithful, that He won't forsake us. See, if it was smooth sailing all the time, we wouldn't be able to have the same confidence in Him that we can. Alright, I'm going to dive down a little bit, lose some of this altitude. I was thinking too, while we're on the topic of hitting turbulence and hitting bumps, when the air is bumpy, you don't try to correct it, you don't try to fight against it, because what you'll do is you'll end up making those oscillations, is what they call them, where you're rocking back and forth. You'll make that worse by trying to fix it. So what you do is you just hold steady pressure on your brakes. That's what these are brake toggles. And you just hold steady pressure and you let the wing sort it out. Because see, the wing wants to fly level and wants to fly straight. And if you let the wing do what the wing does best and don't try to help the wing out, you'll fly better. And what I've seen is that, you know, with God, when life gets bumpy and when things get bumpy, we start trying to just, you know, start trying to micromanage and start trying to micro steer and where we just make it way more uncomfortable on ourselves than need be. But if we'll just stand still, if we'll just hold still and keep our trust in the thing that has us going, it'll be okay. But we have to fight those urges to try to correct it. In a way, you kind of have to go against human nature. See, sometimes for us to do what God wants us to do and to stand still, we have to fight against the human nature to fix it ourselves, to take care of it ourselves, to correct it, to manage it, whatever it may be that we think we can do better than God. And that's just kind of, we have to override that human nature, and it's an unnatural feeling. But that's just what we have to do sometimes. Sometimes we have to just stand still and let God do what God does best. See, as I'm coming down, I'm hitting a little bit of a layer of air there that is a little bit bumpy. But you don't see my hands fighting it. I'll apply just a little bit of slow, easy, and controlled left pressure just to give myself a turn. But you don't see me fighting it. You don't see me trying to correct it. You just kind of have to be along for the ride sometimes. It's the same way in life. Sometimes you're just going to have to sit back and be along for the ride. And trust me, I understand that that is not always a fun experience. That is not always something that is enjoyable. Sometimes life will throw you around like a rag doll. Sometimes life will beat you and batter you, and some things hurt, and just some things are just very unpleasant and uncomfortable. And the first thing we want to do as human beings is we want to take hold of that and we want to fix that, but we've got to let God take care of it. We've got to let God fix those things for us. We've got to put our trust in Him. I'm having to do that myself with some things in life right now. I have to just let God take care of things in His own time, in His own way. So in closing this afternoon, I guess I've not been as fired up as I was the other day, but the message is just as important, is that we need to put our trust and we need to put our faith in Jesus. He doesn't need to be our reserve. He needs to be the main support. And we need to fight those urges to correct things ourselves and just let Him take care of things in His own time, in His own way. His ways are higher than our ways. His thoughts are higher than our thoughts. He knows what He's doing a lot better than we know what we're doing. But it don't always seem that way from our perspective. But we've just got to trust Him. We've got to put our confidence in Him. If we do that, we'll be able to make it through this thing. I can't promise you that there won't be bumps. I'll actually promise you that there will be. But I can promise you that you'll make it. But you've got to put your trust in Him. Your confidence has to be in Him. I hope y'all are having a good afternoon. We'll see y'all next time. Paramotor Preacher out.